A sample? If not, get a pen and paper and write down this number, 800-438-0387, or go to quickstake.com. That's QUIKSTAKE.com and order your samples. Ask your surveying supply dealer for Quick.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of On Point with Victor. Man, this news is just non-stop. I do show prep, and then the night hits or the morning hits, and the ongoing new topics just kind of blow away my show notes and my show preparation. So I'm going to have to get into something here that's completely off what I was scheduling to do, or at least what I had on tap to do today. But I want you guys to just hang tight. It's crazy. For instance, Alexandria okay, let me be good here. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the so-called representative of the Brooklyn district of New York, is at it again. And look, those of you who listen regularly to On Point with Victor, you know that I haven't mentioned her very much. I haven't, in fact, in the past few weeks, I probably haven't even said her name, maybe in passing. But that's by design, folks. I just this so-called representative, this woman, Alexandria Cortez, just doesn't deserve the time. She doesn't deserve my time. She doesn't deserve to get credence from this show. However, she stepped in it last night, and I can't let it go. So I'm going to defer away from my notes, and I'm going to educate Miss Cortez today, because it is a much history lessons that she needs. So I'm going to get to that, and then after that, we'll get into some topic rundowns with a guest, I believe a caller coming in later today. So we'll get into those things. So let me get some technical information out of the way. You guys are listening to America's Web Radio. This is On Point with Victor. I am Victor Armendariz. Look me up on Facebook. Look up America's Web Radio on YouTube. You can find us all over the place, folks. And if you've already done that, thank you so much. And again, to all your listeners, I can't thank you enough. We are growing every week with listenership, and it's great. And also, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. If you are a veteran, or if you know a veteran, please let them know about the special we're running, the promotion we're running right now at America's Web Radio. As a veteran, if you are starting a new business, you're going to get some free advertising here at America's Web Radio. So if you know a veteran, or if you are a veteran, please get the word out to them to contact us here at America's Web Radio, and that would be gm@americaswebradio.com, gm@americaswebradio.com. So this is important, folks. It's something that the station here wants to do for veterans, and it's a great thing. I 100% support it. So, okay. So now, once again, we're back, and you're listening to On Point with Victor. And this is, this is a show of common sense and logic. It is the new evolution in talk radio, and that's America's Web Radio. So hopefully you are tuned in either at americaswebradio.com or you're watching live on Facebook. Look, folks, I always tell you I love to interact with you, so go to Facebook, pull this up live, and you can ask me questions on the spot during this show. So you can live interact with me. I love it, and I love to hear from you, especially if you disagree with me. If there's any of you out there who agree with Alexandria Cortez, then I definitely want you to chime in, because I just got to hear this. I got it. So, and those of you who aren't familiar yet with what she said, don't worry, you will be. I'm going to get to that in just a second. Okay, once again, thanks again for listening, and here we go. So last night, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, so-called representative from New York, Now, look, folks, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'm going to sound angry. I'm going to sound mad, but I'm not. I'm just passionate because this issue really hits home with me and with a lot of my listeners that I've already heard from. So please don't think I'm angry or mad. I'm passionately mad. Let's put it that way. But last night, in her infinite wisdom, Ocasio-Cortez put out an absolute outlandish video and said some of the most outlandish things I think I've heard yet. And I want you, while I'm going through this story here, I want you to I want you to think about all you've been hearing about Trump tweets. Trump tweeted this. Trump said this. Trump was a meanie. Oh, Trump doesn't know this and all the things. Remember all the complaints you're hearing from the media about Trump tweets. And then I want you to listen to what Cortez said. Where is the outcry is where I'm going with this. Where's the outcry? Because what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said last night in her video is worse than anything I think I've heard Trump say or that I think I've seen Trump tweet. So I know you're out there asking, well, what did she say? What did she say? Because you may not have heard about it yet. So, and some of the news stations, they're not going to tell you what she said, and they're not going to give you the full thing. They're going to try to cover for her. So let me tell you what she said. All right. So last night in a video, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I'm trying to be nice and not, you guys know that I call her Ocasio-Cortez, and I just can't help it. And she earned that nickname. But anyway, last night she puts out an Instagram video, and she says that the detention camps, the border, she says the southern borders and the so-called detention camps, and all the things going on at the border, she said, and this is the United States southern border she's talking about. She said all of these things that are happening, everything that's happening right now, is exactly the same. Now listen to her words. I'm not making these words up. I'm not putting words in her mouth. Her words were exactly like and exactly the same as the Nazi concentration camps. So let me say that again. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez believes that what's happening in the southern border of the United States is exactly the same, not almost like, or not on the road to be like, not if we continue down this road we're going to be this. No. She said specifically it is exactly today. Today's environment on the southern border is exactly the same as the concentration camps in Nazi socialist Germany. Now, step back and think about that for a second, folks. Think about what she said. And this isn't just hyperbole. You cannot pass this off as hyperbole. We might be able to pass this off as utter ignorance or stupidity because maybe she doesn't know what the concentration camps really were. Maybe she was never taught what Nazi socialism was and what Nazi concentration camps were. Maybe she wasn't taught. So maybe we can give her a little bit of that benefit of that doubt. But you can't tell me that this woman sitting in Congress, so-called representative of the people, being paid by taxpayer dollars, is sitting around with a staff because she gets a big old budget of taxpayer dollars to pay for a staff, that not one person could educate her on the concentration camps before she blurted this out. And again, she doubled down. She didn't just say one time, this is exactly our border, our southern border is exactly like concentration camps. She said over and over more than once, it is exactly like the Nazi concentration camps in Germany. And then she went on to say, oh yes, I use these words not for shock value, but because we need to never forget. Now, the fact that she had the audacity to say that, this is what chaps my derriere. She clearly has no idea what happened in the Nazi concentration camps. And again, maybe she doesn't because she's 29 years old. She's one of those millennials who think they know everything, who flew through college learning basket weaving and global warming and climate change and transgenderism. And, they learned everything but history of this country and the history of Europe, other than maybe they learned about coffee shops and wine and bread. I mean, again, I'm trying to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, I guess. I don't want to be accused of being a real big meanie. But anyway, so I when I heard this, I'm even flabbergasted now, folks. I mean, I'm having trouble even keeping my thoughts together here. This is how much this comment she made just pissed me off. I mean, my first reaction was, are you kidding me? My reaction was, in the words of Aunt Bihar, I could just hear her now going, what? When she hears about this. Because she basically just insulted any Jewish person out there who lives in this country. And now I have a lot of Jewish listeners. And unfortunately, the Democrat Party has a lot of Jewish voters. And I will tell you right now, if you're a Jewish voter and votes Democrat, you really, 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 really need to step back and pay attention to what's going on in today's Democrat Party. Now, I understand if you're a Kennedy Democrat and you're back in the 50s, 60s Democrat and you're Jewish. I can understand that. But today's Democrat, if you're voting for them, let me tell you, you've got to reassess where your vote is going. That's all I can tell you. So anyway, let me get back to this. So she makes this comment. First of all, so now we're going to get into educating Alexandria Cortez. Here's my history lesson for her. First of all, the so-called detention centers, the holding cells, the holding places, the barracks that are at the border and around the border to hold these illegals that are streaming across and these asylum seekers, they were there long before Trump was president. In fact, the anointed one, Obama, he used these so-called detention camps that Cortez is referring to. In fact, the pictures that we saw last year when they were trying to blame Trump for separating children, and they had pictures of children that in fences, in areas that were fenced off. These were barracks. These are the camps that Cortez is talking about. Those pictures came from the Obama administration time. Those pictures were from his watch. So that's the first little lesson that Alexandria Cortez somebody needs to tell her. So where was the outrage, Cortez? Where was the outrage, Miss Cortez, when Obama was using these same so-called camps, these so-called concentration camps of which you are accusing of the United States of having right now? Where was your outrage? Were you too busy making a vodka and sour? Were you too busy making vodka cranberry drinks? Were you too busy popping beer tops? Is that why you didn't have any outrage back then? Outrage for the children? Outrage for the women? Outrage for the men? Oh, these poor illegals that were coming over and have to sit and be interviewed. In some cases, gang members had to be interrogated. They have to be in these, what you refer to as concentration camps, which Obama used and before him. So we've got quite a bit of history here where your outrage was silent. Absolutely silent. All right, folks. Hang on tight right there. We're going to go to a break here. When we get back, I'm going to get into a little bit of more of a history lesson for Alexandria Cortez. So you hang on tight. We'll be right back. You're listening to On Point with Victor at America's Web Radio.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business practices, and fascinating business professionals to get an insider view of how America works. The Business Hour from 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, you need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Ronaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the americasbroadcastnetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back, and thank you for listening, folks. We're back to On Point with Victor. Hey, listen, folks, real quick, I just got a message from the top of the top, the owner of the station. We have just added first responders. All first responders are now part of the veteran deal that I spoke of earlier. So if you're a first responder, or if you know a first responder, police officer, fire department, EMS, any first responder who's starting a business, has a business that maybe they're starting with their wife, or maybe they have a son or daughter and they're starting a business, you have them reach out to America's Web Radio at gm@americaswebradio.com, gm@americaswebradio.com. That is the email. Have them contact us. They will get free advertising on this station. We're giving a limited amount of free advertising for veterans and now first responders. So, okay, on with the show. So I'm going to get back into this history lesson for occasional, I can't even help myself, but for Miss Cortez, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So, all right, folks, like I'd mentioned before, the so-called concentration camps of which she is referring to were there long before Donald J. Trump was president. And they are, you can call them a detention center, you can call them a holding center, but they're around the border. And if you can come up with a different way to assess all these illegal people that are coming over the border, then please, you email my show at victor@americaswebradio.com, or you get online right now, shoot me a question, or you call in at some point, and please let me know that you have another way to do this. Because, folks, they've been doing this for a long time. Because you've got gang members coming across that border, you've got flat-out criminals of the most evil kind coming across that border, you've got people with ill intentions that are coming across that border, you have terrorists that have been looking to come across, and some have come across that border. We know this. This is not hyperbole. And then, of course, among that, we have people who truly need asylum. We have good people that truly need help. But you cannot just open the floodgates and say, you get to where you can get, and then we'll weed out the criminals when they commit a crime. That's just not going to work, folks. So that is why there are holding cells and detention centers, or however you want to call it, cages, as some Democrats like to call now when there's a Republican president. But when there's a Democrat president, then they'll go back to, oh, well, these are just great little stay-and-goes. Or, they'll come up with some great word. Again, you just go back and research news stories from 2008 to 2016 when all of this was going on under Obama, and you didn't hear a word. There was no outrage, no outcry. So let me get back to these comments that Cortez. So now, like I said before, she didn't stop at accusing the United States. Let's face it, she was accusing Trump and the Republicans of having Germany Nazi concentration camps on our border. She didn't stop there. She also said that, well, President Trump is a fascist. A fascist, folks. That's what she's calling him. She said what's happening in the United States has parallels to Nazi Germany and other fascist states. So she's calling you, if you don't agree with her, if you don't vote for socialist, Democrat, Green Deal, let's kill the energy sector of this country, let's kill the medical sector of this country, let's kill the economic engine of this country. If you don't agree with any of that, well, by golly, you're a fascist, in case you didn't know that, according to Miss Cortez. So, I mean, there's a whole nother education. I need to give her an economics lesson, and one day I guess I'm going to have to do that. But right now, let's stick to the historical lesson. First of all, let me blow this whole fascist thing out of the water here. Miss Cortez, please, you or some of your staff, don't just look up the meaning of fascist, because that's clearly not enough of a lesson for you. Please go back and look at history, at every fascist that we've known of, namely Hitler. Hitler was a fascist, socialist Nazi regime. Go to Mussolini. There are plenty of examples of fascism in history. There are people who call themselves fascists today. Find some of them. And what I want you, Ms. Cortez, what I want you to ask them is, what is your view on economics? What is your view on government? You know why, Ms. Cortez? Because what they're going to tell you is they believe in socialistic views for the economy. They believe in government controlling means of productions. They believe in government basically controlling every aspect of your life. They believe in a huge central government. That's fascism, Ms. Cortez. Now, how on earth is anything Trump is doing? Trump has cut regulation. Trump has cut taxes. Trump has been doing whatever he can do to reduce the size of federal government in our lives. That is the exact contrary to fascism. So that's another little lesson there. And go ahead, have your staff look it up, because it's all there in history for you, Miss Cortez. It's all there. So, okay. Let me go on to another thing that's brainless. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Again, this just makes me very passionate, folks. So sometimes I want to pull out my little nicknames for her. And I was going to call her a brainless. Well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. Don't want to be prudent. So, Miss Cortez, in the words of my father, these are my people. These are our people that you're basically trashing when you're comparing the United States to having concentration camps like Nazi socialist Germany. This kind of rhetoric is absolutely crazy and needs to be confronted. We have to hit this face on or straight on, folks, and that's why I'm deterring from today's normally scheduled show to this history lesson for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm being nice, folks. I'm being nice. Bear with me. All right. First of all, Miss Cortez, the Nazi Germany concentration camps were an integral component to the Holocaust that killed 6 million Jewish people. Let me repeat this, Mrs. Cortez. Let me give your staff time to make sure that they understand what I'm saying here. The Nazi Germany concentration camps were an integral part of the Holocaust, which killed 6 million Jewish people. So let that sink in. 6 million Jewish people murdered by a Nazi socialist government, not by a rogue gang group, not by some band of criminals, by a government institutionalized Nazi socialist people. And let me remind you, Ms. Cortez compared the current Republicans and the Trump administration to the Nazi German Socialist Party that killed 6 million Jewish people. All right? Are you starting to see here, Ms. Cortez, why myself and a lot of my listeners are pretty ticked off at your comment? Are you starting to see why hopefully there's a huge sound? Wait, do we maybe hear some marching sound? Do we maybe hear the sounds of Democrat Jewish voters walking away from the Democrat plantation? Do maybe we hear the sounds of Jewish voters happily walking away from the Democrat plantation? Well, you know what? I, for one, welcome you to the Libertarian Party, the Republican Party, the Constitutionalist Party. Any of these places can be a home for you because you've got to walk away from today's Democrat Party. So, all right, let me get back to why. Oh my gosh, this is just so. Again, 6 million people, 6 million innocent people killed by Nazi concentration camps. And, you know, it's that kind of evil is so bad that still today, we as humans have trouble comprehending that kind of evil. I mean, we really do. When you really sit down, and maybe that's the problem with Ms. Cortez. Maybe that's the problem with a lot of youth in this country, is not only that they haven't learned or been taught history or proper history or truthful history. Maybe they're just having trouble comprehending what happened, that kind of evil. Folks, it's hard to explain. It really is. It's hard to explain that kind of evil, and it really is kind of hard to visualize the killing of 6 million people just because they practiced a religion that the Nazi socialist government deemed wasn't or shouldn't be a religion. They were deemed a lesser people. They were deemed people that just shouldn't be allowed to live. That's Nazi socialist concentration camps. So I want to move on with my lesson here. My historical lesson for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want you to look up a thing called Auschwitz. I want you and your staff to please go and look up a concentration camp by the name of Auschwitz. That, Ms. Cortez, is a concentration camp. And it's an example of a concentration camp that you have never, and will never see on our land in the United States. At least you're not going to see it with a Republican president. You're not going to see it with a Trump presidency. So, Ms. Cortez, have your staff look up Auschwitz. Ms. Cortez, more than 1 million people were killed by the Nazi socialist government in that one concentration camp. More than 1 million people killed in that one camp, Auschwitz. They were gassed, they were shot, they were hanged, and they were burned. Think about that, folks. And we're going to go to a next break. We're going to be right back. You're listening to On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Quick Steaks, that's Q-U-I-K steaks, are not just for surveyors. They are great for family and community gardens. Go online to www.quicksteak.com or contact your local land surveying supply dealer and get you a box of Quick Steaks. You'll love them every year when you plant your garden. Again, that's Quick Steaks, Q-U-I-K steaks, the truly preferred way to stake and identify what's in your garden now.
The disease of addiction is a life-altering challenge, not just for the person suffering its effects, but also for the family and friends who support and love the one caught in its grasp. What should be the course of treatment? Who is the best person to render treatment? And what is the best place to go for the care that is needed? We know that you want answers to these and many more questions. Call 770-696-9862 and speak to a representative of the Atlanta Healing Center. They can tailor a program specifically designed to address the needs of the person suffering with an addiction, or give you guidance as to where that help may be found. Information is the key, and the trained staff at AHC is here to assist. If you wish, you can also get more information on the website located at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business practices, and fascinating business professionals to get an insider view of how America works.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the On Point with Victor. Okay, let me jump right back into my education here, my history lesson for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. All right, Miss Cortez. So are you hearing me? Because let me repeat what I said before the last break there. 1 million people, over 1 million innocent women, children, and men, and babies were killed in Auschwitz alone. Auschwitz, the concentration camp, of which you seem to want to compare our border to. This one camp, Auschwitz, over 1 million innocent babies, children, women, and men were exterminated. Exterminated, Miss Cortez. That's right. They were brought to that concentration camp not for Germany to figure out who they were, not because they came across the border illegally, not because they may have been a member of a gang, not because they may have been engaged in terrorist activity, not because maybe they were just trying to come to this country with or that country with ill intentions. No, Miss Cortez, a concentration camp was there because millions of people were driven there to be placed there to await extermination. As I mentioned before, Miss Cortez, men, women, children, and babies were hung, they were shot, they were gassed, and they were burned. That is what happened at a concentration camp, Miss Cortez. Now, you find me anywhere in the United States, anywhere on the southern border where that's happening. Find that for me, Miss Cortez. Please. We're all waiting. And you know, maybe, just maybe I can understand your disregard for babies. I mean, my gosh, it was your state, it was your mayor that said we can kill babies. And now, folks, I am going to go to the phones here in a second. It looks like we have, I think we have a caller in the form of California Greg. Greg, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. California Greg, would you mind standing on the line, hanging on the line here while I finish this little thought here?
No problem.
Excellent. So look, folks. And let me get back to addressing Miss Cortez directly. So maybe because your state is the state of New York that said, hey, if a baby comes to term, go right ahead and kill it. We'll just do what Virginia's talking about and have a consult with your doctor. And if you want to abort it when it's born, we'll abort it then. Okay, so maybe we can. I understand your view on babies, but what about the children, Ms. Cortez? What about all the children that the Democrats are constantly saying are victims of Republican policies? What about the women, Ms. Cortez? What about all the women and men? And these may have been some gay men, Ms. Cortez. There could have been some transgenders in there. You know what, Ms. Cortez? We may not ever know if there were transgenders in there because why? They were exterminated, Ms. Cortez. They were hung, they were burned, they were shot, and they were gassed because they had a religion that Nazi socialist Germany didn't agree with. That's a concentration camp. That is a concentration camp, Miss Cortez. So does it bother you to learn of this horrific, evil history? Does it bother you that families were ripped apart? Does it bother you, Miss Cortez, that families were put on trains? Trains, and not just trains where they just shut the door and said, hey, if you can open it, you can jump off. No, Miss Cortez, they were put on train cars, box cars, that had bars on the outside, so they couldn't claw their way out, Miss Cortez. And those trains were on a straight track to the concentration camps, Miss Cortez, so that when they got there, all these people were taken off, women, children, and babies. Did I mention that, Miss Cortez? They were all taken off of these boxcars and put into your concentration camps. And they were taken there. Why, Miss Cortez? There's going to be a pop quiz, Miss Cortez, so write this down. They were taken there to be exterminated, Miss Cortez. That's why they were taken there. So are you proud of yourself, Representative Cortez? Are your voters proud of you for making this kind of comparison to the United States of America, Miss Cortez? The country where you were allowed to be what you wanted to be. You went from being a bartender and making and your words, Miss Cortez, not mine, just scraping by. You couldn't afford rent. And now you're being paid almost $200,000 a year from the taxpayer sweat equity so you can sit and represent a small part of New York. So you can sit there and make these kind of comments and compare the United States of having concentration camps and of the ilk of the Nazi Germany Socialist Party. Now look, Miss Cortez, I'll fight every day for your right to say what you want because you've got free speech in this country, something that the people in Nazi Socialist Germany never had. But I'll fight for your right to have that. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to sit here and educate you. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to try and educate your voters in New York because we've got New York listeners, Miss Cortez. And if they're smart, they're going to vote you out. And that doesn't mean they have to vote for a Republican. Hopefully they can vote in the Democrat primary and somebody will run and unseat you. And then maybe these Jewish voters will turn and vote Republican because they should. Not because the Republican Party is the perfect party, but because today's Democrat Party has lost their damn mind. So, I digress. But I hope this little education here, Cortez, I hope it sinks at home. I hope somebody gets it to you. And if they have any questions, it's Victor Armendariz on Point with Victor. So, okay, we're going to lighten things up a little bit, folks. I thank you so much for bearing with me and letting me get that off my chest. But right now, we're going to go to the phones. California Greg, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Victor.
Well, unlike Miss Cortez, I care how you feel, Greg.
Yes, well, I would have to say, two of my least favorite qualities in person are arrogance and ignorance, and thank goodness I have the least amount of that as possible.
Well, I think Miss Cortez is sucking all of it up.
I hate to say, I think you're absolutely right. I did watch the video a couple of times.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You have to watch it more than once.
You really do.
You watch it one time, and it's hard to believe what's actually coming out of her mouth.
Isn't it?
She must be either drunk or high. I can't decide which one suits her incoherent ramble better.
Or both. California Greg, I like to think that we can fix stupid, but I'm afraid this might be pure ignorance.
Absolutely. One of my favorite pieces of it was the Twitter comment feed, how it sits there and it just rolls. I think I recognized most of them as ISIS leaders or members.
or former Nazi concentration camp workers.
A lot of white supremacists on there. She's constantly going off the rails, and I think the reason why she's doing it is attention. She needs constant attention, whether it's positive or negative. I think it's a part of the spoiled child syndrome that she exhibits. You probably hit on something there, California Greg, and it probably goes back to her upbringing. It goes back to her entitlement education that she's probably received. I mean, so many millennials in today's world are really taught entitlement. They're owed. We owe them, and I think you're probably right. You're probably right. But, California Greg, you have your own mess to deal with in California. And since you're calling from California, in fact, where are you calling from, L.A.? Yeah, just a little bit north in a place called Santa Clarita.
Excellent. I actually know that well. So you have your own ilk of, let's just say, Cortez types to deal with in California. I mean,
call him Governor Newsom.
You took the words out of my mouth. So
give us an update here. Give all the listeners here, because look, Greg, we've got listeners all over the country, and some are in California, and some of us over here, we like to laugh at you in California, and a lot of people may not know why we laugh so much at California. So give us a little update on old Governor Newsom.
We are constantly tortured by our government out here. It never ends, and it's a money grab all the time. We're trying to hang on to as much as we can, but it seems the more you earn, the more they take. So it's very hard to get ahead here. But Newsom, Mr. Governor Newsom, has approved a $215 billion state budget, which includes approximately $98 million for illegals between the ages of 18 and 26 to get free health care.
Okay, hold on, and hold right there, California, Greg. Am I to believe that California is going to seize $98 million and actually give it to the people coming out of the concentration camps on the southern border?
You got it.
Well, somebody
I
needs...
I totally believe that's a very low number.
It probably is.
It'll probably be double or triple that.
Well, somebody needs to alert Ms. Cortez, because she has her information very wrong. Because according to her, these people should be being killed. All right, I'm going to stop. So Newsom wants to take 98 million taxpayer dollars that California does not have. I mean, Greg, are you guys not still in a terrible, terrible state of affairs financially in California?
Oh, California will be broke for the next 100 years.
Unless they reverse
course.
course.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's taking $98 million that doesn't exist. So he's just basically borrowing from future residents of California. And he wants to give it to illegals.
The state budget has always just been a loose guideline for them, you know. And it's just, I feel that it's something that they give or they put out into the universe to try and appease the locals and the residents, while they have completely different plans for spending. And they know that they're not going to, they need to put out something that is acceptable or that they feel is acceptable. And then when it comes time to spending it, it ends up being 2 and 3 times much more.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Is your governor, and maybe before he got there, does California give driver's license to illegals?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so do you know the reason why they do that, folks, is to try and make it easier for illegals to vote. So, Greg, basically what's going on in California with this new push for $98 million to give to illegals in the form of health care and everything else that they need and want and desire is to turn them into good little illegal voters. Oh, well, Democrat voters.
Oh, absolutely. Look, they need constituents. And if they're not getting constituents from residents who are legal, they need to look outside of that realm. And their answer has become, hey, let's get the people who are new here, who don't understand our government, and who don't care about it, who didn't work hard to form it.
Well, you know, fewer and fewer...
They're an easy target.
Right. Fewer and fewer people are moving to California. So they have to replace lost voters, and they have to replace complacency, because let's face it, if you're a Democrat let's just face it, if you're anyone in California, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you basically know your state's going Democrat. I mean, I think that's the problem with getting people to vote. So maybe Newsom is looking at it going, well, gosh, eventually I'm going to lose too many voters from complacency, so we must replace them. Like you said, that's what they're looking at, the illegal population as a voter replacement block.
Oh, Arizona and Texas are becoming increasingly more upset with the number of Californians moving to their states and bringing their liberal politics with them.
Oh, I can't imagine. If I were a surrounding state, as Nevada, California, or Arizona, or Texas, I think I'd be pretty pissed off too. Because if you're coming to my state and you're fleeing your state because of high taxation, why on earth would you bring that mess to a state that you're fleeing to. So, all right, California Greg, hang on right there. We're going to go to our next break here. This is going to be a quick break, folks. Stay right there. You're listening to On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Who I hope is still there. California Greg, are you there? Well, folks, you know, this is live radio. Oh, there he is. All right, California Greg, I'm going to get back into some more of the craziness going on in California. So tell me, I've heard of some new taxation coming down for multiple homeowners. Is that what's the case there?
Well, the good news is it did not pass.
No way. Who stopped it? Because you don't have any more Republicans out there.
I think people finally realized that this would affect them directly. And when something affects somebody directly, they tend to take more notice. I guess there's more landowners or more owners of property that are willing to vote than are not.
Well,
so I think that saved us in that case. And I assume that you're talking about Proposition EE.
Yes.
Which is basically a 16-cent per square foot tax on any real estate you owned.
16 cents, folks. 16-cent tax per square foot. Let that sink in.
For 12 years to start with. Now, we all know taxes never go away.
Never go away. When was the last time the government passed a tax and then in 10 years or 5 years or 20 years said, okay, we're going to rescind that? Never. Once you give the government that taxation power, it's just never going to go away, which is why I always encourage people to oppose any new tax initiative that comes in the form of a SPLOST or any other crap that they try and put on ballots nowadays to sneak in a penny here, a penny there. Because it all adds up, folks, and it's just more taxation. So, Greg, I mean, to me, it is absolutely asinine, and that they would even try to do that. I mean, 16 cents per square foot. I mean, they're basically punishing, once again, they're punishing producers, they're punishing hard work, they're punishing you for going out and making good decisions and making proper investments and trying to take care of yourself, your family, and so, you know, that can't be allowed, so you must be punished in California for that. And I think maybe what happened, Greg, is like you said, landowners stood up. And you know, the one thing a politician fears is re-election. So maybe enough people in the communities, landowners, like you said, stood up. I bet that's what happened.
Yeah, punishing, so you're absolutely right. Punishment of success. And and rewarding those who are incapable of or don't wish to participate in creating a living or wealth for themselves. Now, here's the great thing. That money was supposed to go to the LAUSD school, okay? And we all know that was for paying pensions. Pensions which are way over what they should have ever have been.
Right.
Number one. And number two, as soon as it did not pass, they announced that they found the money somewhere else.
No,
immediately.
So they found a printing press. No.
Exactly. So it goes to show that it's not something they needed, it's something they wanted.
Well, you look at the budget of California, and it's just like the budget of the country, the entire country. If politicians, we, the voter, need to force this, and especially in California, but we need to force politicians to deal and use the money that they have. And so what that means is spending has to be cut. Look, California, Greg, in your household, if something happened and you had a large expense or a car broke down or major home, some type of failure with a major component of your home, maybe as a roof or something, and you had to lay out a big expense, that probably means that in the next few months, you're going to cut spending somewhere else to recoup the money you had to spend until you things get back to normal. Does that sound outlandish?
Oh, no, that's the only choice you have.
Right. No, go ahead.
We don't have the ability to get money from somewhere else. You can go out and get a second job. No, people can barely handle one job more than two. Fact of the matter is the government sees the constituents as, like you said, a printing press. There no other reason for them. Other than that, they are a burden to a politician's job.
Well, see,
it's all about what we can get funding for, and I love the reasons they use. The reason for the whole LAUSD was, it's going to better the classrooms. It's for the children. That's my favorite phrase in the world. For the children. It's for the children.
Not the babies, not the babies, mind you, but just the ones who survived. It's for the children.
Right. For the children. Everything is for the children.
Yep.
We need a bullet train. It's for the children.
we need high speed rail everywhere, and a car in every driveway and a chicken in every kitchen. It's for the children.
For the children. That's what we need.
Here's
what I want to know.
Okay.
I want to know when Governor Newsom is going to write the check for Donald Trump because we're not building the bullet train now.
Hey, that's a very fine point. Doesn't he have some money he needs to return by chance to the federal government?
Right.
Maybe. Greg, you bring a great point, because you're absolutely right. Government looks to the people as wealth that the government owns, and you're just a peasant who should be happy with what the government allows you to keep. So the sweat equity's not yours, it's theirs. And whatever they allow you to keep, you should be happy. Because, Greg, when you do have to budget, when something does happen in your home or life, and you do have to budget and cut spending because you have to recoup, you can't go next door, Greg, and hold a gun to that neighbor's head and say, I'm going to have to confiscate about $100 or $1,000. When was the last time you were able to do that, Greg?
Oh, no. The government can.
But the government can. And that's the point here, is the government can go at the point of a gun, they do it every day, basically, through the IRS, and seize your sweat equity. So that's just some great points there, Greg, and it's a shame that you're having to deal with this. And I love the news that you broke today that proposition failed. But you know what the scary part is, Greg, is the politicians in California are hard at work right now, looking for the next thing they can tax.
Right. You're absolutely right. And it's a never-ending list of things that they're looking for. And I hate to say, most of them are manufactured. They're not real issues. They come up with these crazy things that they feel they need money for when there are real issues that exist in this state.
Well, government is great at creating a problem, then identifying that problem, screwing that problem up and making it worse, and then running in and saying, oh, well, clearly you need a government. You need us to fix it. We broke it, so we should fix it. The government's king of that, and I think California is a prime example. Well, Greg, you mentioned that there are real issues in California. There absolutely are. Do you want to speak to any of those real issues and maybe give Newsom a little lesson here today?
Oh, I wouldn't know where to begin. I wouldn't know where to begin. I mean, for a state that has so much wealth, there's why don't we start with the roads? The roads are in horrible, terrible shape.
Yep.
The gas tax is higher here than I think almost anywhere else in the country. I think it's here and maybe 2 or 3 other places where it's
New York would give you a running,
or as high.
Yeah, absolutely. New York City will give you a running, but I think California on the whole is leading the pack.
With the amount of money they collect from gases, and on top of that, they still charge a very heavy ad valorem tax for automobiles.
Oh,
okay.
Just you wait, Greg. What are they going to do to make up for the electric cars who aren't buying gas?
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to tax.
And what's happening is that burden is now falling on the rest of us,
right?
With ad valorem and gas taxes.
Exactly. But you know what they're going to do with not just expanding ad valorem. It's just a matter of time before California starts to tax per mile. They're going to do something to make up because of their quest to put everybody in an electric car. If you think that getting an electric car is going to get you excused from taxation, oh no, California has something for you. You just wait.
Yeah, there was an article I read. I think they were already looking at something like that where it was going to be by the amount you drive.
Oh, yeah. They will start taxing by the mile, and then they'll start taxing by electrical use, probably per household. If you use a certain amount, they're probably going to. I mean, California, folks, I'm not making this up. California, Greg is not making this up. These are real things that they're coming out of today's Democrat Party. It's not, hey, how can we cut and where can we cut so we can budget? No. It's how can we tax, and how can we screw the producers more and more and more? And how can we even screw the middle class, which is becoming extinct, not just in California. I mean, California.
You mentioned the middle class. And look, we all know life is not fair, right? We're not going to argue that point. We know that's a fact.
Right.
But with that being said, the middle class probably pays the majority of the taxes while they have the least amount of voice. The people who are crying out, the people who are making these crazy decisions are either the extremely wealthy or the extremely poor. And it's because the middle class is so busy working to keep their head above water and to maintain an acceptable level of life, they don't have time to participate in the politics and the activism and all the other things that go on.
You're absolutely right.
I think it's sad.
Oh, it's a travesty. It really is. And what they're doing, and that's the road to socialism. You push out the middle class, and everyone has shared misery. Okay, folks, we're going to have to leave it right there. Thank you so much to California Greg for that really good call today. I loved getting California updates. But thanks so much for calling, California Greg. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. Tune in next week. We'll be right back at it, folks. This has been Victor Armendariz with On Point with Victor. It's America's Web Radio.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.